Okay. So now, guys, a quick recap. So yesterday, basically, we discussed about like what is cloud and why do we basically need the cloud. We
Mm-hmm.
also discussed that what are the limitations in on-premise that we cannot scale it properly, and there are availability issues. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the benefits in the cloud. Like if we talk about availability, scalability, cost benefit. So these are
Yeah.
the benefits which we discussed in the cloud. And after that, we discussed what are the different types of cloud. Okay, guys, initially for few days, I'm going to keep a very slow pace just to make sure that you understand each and everything because you guys are coming from a very non-technical background.
Yeah.
Now, to understand each and every technical term, you need some time, and I'm going to go a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to ask many questions, just shoot those questions to me so that I can respond. And
Okay.
also today we'll basically discuss about like what are the cloud computing concept. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like and what are the additional advantages, benefits, regions and availability zone. So we are going to basically discuss few things, and slowly we will enter into technical stuff. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
this is the plan for today. So
Okay.
right now we'll discuss about the offerings. Okay, so offerings is a very interesting thing. So now
Mm-hmm.
what happens in offerings? Let's say that, like cloud services, let's say that we have AWS.
Yeah.
AWS stands for Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
AWS basically has more than 150 plus services. Now these services are categorized into three offerings. One is SaaS, second is PaaS, and third is IaaS. Okay. Now all the services, like let's say if you pick one service, it will belong to any one of the category. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, now let's say that we have, you know, okay. So now let's imagine that okay, how many of you uses Netflix? So now when we have Netflix, now tell me one thing. Is it possible for you guys to go and create chat application within Netflix? Can you do that? So what happens that Netflix is a service which you use as per your subscription that you pay you pay as a subscriber, and you use that Netflix to watch movies. You watch movies and that's it. You cannot do anything extra. You can
Yeah.
do some customizations. You can go to settings. You can turn on the parental control. Okay, you can do a lot of things related to settings. As a few, I mean, few things related to settings. A few customizations, but you cannot add any extra feature in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to add any extra feature, you have to make the application code changes in Netflix. Application code changes means all these Netflix, Facebook applications are made with the help of code, the application code.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to basically introduce a new feature, you have to write the code. Being a software developer, you will basically write the code and then you will introduce a new feature. Let's say if you want to add a chat application, so you have to add that code in Netflix application code. When you add it, then you can see that chat application is working in Netflix. But the problem is, as a subscriber, you do not get access to the Netflix code. Netflix does not let you access the code application code because he is the owner. Netflix is the owner of the code. If he
Yeah.
exposes the code to you, you will develop your application like Netflix, right? So he cannot expose the code, isn't it, everyone? Now you know what? Every application, we discussed this, that every application works on a server. Yesterday we discussed that for website, we need a server. Okay. Now it means that for any application in the world, we need a server. Now, even the Netflix is running on some servers. Okay, that is the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So after you pay your subscription, do you get access to those servers? Can you go and remotely access those servers? Can you basically do something on those servers or not? when you pay your $15 every month. So it means you do not get the infra access as well. So you don't have the infra access. Now, but you can just make few changes in the settings as a customization. Okay. So now it means that you can you don't have access to code and infra. So first offering is software as a service, which means you're going to use software as a service where you will not have access to the code and you will not have access to the infrastructure. Okay. That is software as a service, which means in AWS, out of 150 plus services, there are few services which belong to software as a service, which means that you cannot change the code, you cannot access the infrastructure. You can just use those services for your purposes. Make sense? Now, you understand that few services out of 150 belong to your SaaS. Now, there are few services which belong to PaaS, platform as a service.
Okay.
Platform as a service, what happens? There's a flexibility that you can write the code yourself. You
Okay.
can write the code yourself, and once you are ready with your code, you hand it over to the cloud, that is AWS.
Okay.
Now your AWS will manage the infrastructure. So your AWS will manage the infrastructure. You will not have any access to infra. You will not have any access to infra, but you can edit the code. You can make the changes in the code. You can add new functionality in the code. You can add new lines of code. Okay. But one sec. Yeah. So, but you cannot access the infrastructure. Once your software developer is ready with the code, you move that code to AWS. AWS hosts that code, run that code on the infrastructure, scale it, and make sure that your code works properly. So that is AWS responsibility, that it gives the platform to our code to run. So always remember, any application is made up of code. Now that code needs the platform to run. So AWS provides platform as a service, where once you are ready with the code, you move that code to AWS and AWS runs it for you. When AWS runs it for you, your code, you don't need to manage the infrastructure. So you don't have access to infrastructure and you don't need to manage the infrastructure. Make sense, guys? Okay. Okay. Now, okay. After that, so it means that few services out of 150 plus services, there are few services which belong to platform as a service.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example right now, SaaS, like there are so many services. So SaaS is like S3 example, S3 service of AWS is the example of SaaS. So we are going to have a dedicated sessions on each and every service, not on all 150 plus services. So for us, maybe 20 services are important. So we will discuss one by one all those services. Then we have PaaS. PaaS is like Lambda. So we will discuss this a very good service. This is really awesome service. And then we have IaaS. IaaS is something which we will discuss in maybe in next two sessions. We will be discussing about IaaS service, which is EC2. Okay. Now, IaaS is infrastructure as a service. Now, can you imagine like what it is? Like what does the name suggest to you? You're right.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you develop your own code, you write your own piece of code, and then you maintain your own infrastructure in the cloud, and then you move that code to run it. This is your infra, and you move your code to the infra, and it runs. So here you have the access to the code and you have the access to the infrastructure. Let's say if you want to plug more servers, so you can plug more servers, or if you want to delete more servers, you can delete those servers. So whatever you can do with the infrastructure, you can do it. So you have access to the infrastructure and the code. So there are some services in the AWS which are provided to you for infrastructure. You can tweak the infrastructure. You can basically see the infrastructure. I mean, you can access those servers, you can get into those servers remotely from your home, you can get into those servers, and you can use them. Okay. So do you understand SaaS, PaaS, IaaS? Any questions so far? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Switch from non-IT to IT today. Explore www.thinkcloudly.com.